Hey, what's up guys? It's your boy Coach English, back at it again here with another lab video. And so last class you learned a little bit about matter and what matter is. And today we're going to be doing a little demonstration on how do I separate matter. So the types of matter you're going to be getting will be sand. We have some sand here, just regular old sand. You could get it at a beach. We're going to pour that in the beaker. We've also got salt. Salt, just regular old salt. Sodium chloride, for those of y'all who may not know. We also have iron, which we did in the demonstration earlier. And it's just powdered. You can pour it out and it's a nice powder, but it is metallic. So keep that in mind as we go through this discussion. And then the last thing, we have just marbles, just regular old marbles. And so I'm about to put all four of these into the same beaker, and we're gonna see if we're able to separate these four things. Before we get into the rest of this video, I'd like to remind you guys to smash that subscribe button, click a little thumbs up, and turn on the bell notifications for more special chemistry videos. But with that said, we have our mixture here, and it is ready, it is good to go. We've got all four of the things in there. You can see the black is the iron down there on the left-hand side. You can see the white powder is the salt, and then the little slightly darker colored is the sand. So we've got all three in here, plus the marbles, so four. And the goal is to get them into the four beakers here, using only the lab equipment that we have right here. Okay, so we have crucible tongs, tweezers, water bottle. We got a scupula, a stir rod. We have our ring stand set up. We've got a funnel as well as funnel paper. We got a Bunsen burner as well as the striker. We have this wire gauze, which is going to help to support our evaporating dish. And then finally, we have a magnet. So you can see now that this mixture has been all stirred up. So the first question that I have for you is, how are we going to get the first item out of here and get it into one of our four beakers? So at this time, we'll pause the video and give you a chance to discuss what you would do in order to get the first item out. So I hope you all decided that the first item you would remove would be the marbles. That's obviously going to be the easiest thing to take out. And we have two things we can use here. The tweezers, pretty easy to take out the marbles with the tweezers. You could also, in a situation like this, if it was something larger, you could use the crucible tongs to remove the marble. Not necessary with the marble again, but possible. So now that we got the marbles all taken care of, they are removed from the mixture. And so what we have remaining now is just three things. We got salt, we got sand, and we got iron. So of those three, this is a two-part question. First, what will you remove next? In other words, what would be the easiest of these substances to remove from the mixture? And then once you've established that, the second part to the question is, what of these lab equipment pieces would you use to do so? So let's pause the video again and discuss what you think the answer is to those questions. So for those of you who said to remove the iron next, you're absolutely correct. The one property of iron that's going to make it much more easy to remove than the other two substances is the fact that it's a metal, meaning it's magnetic. So we've got a magnet here, and this is a little pro life hack. It would all stick to the magnet if I just used it without the baggie, but just to keep the magnet clean, I'm gonna stick the baggie around it. Dip it in right here, and you can see the iron sticking to it. And the easy thing is, to get it in that, we just put it in just a little bit, and then you take the magnet out, and it falls. So that's how we're going to remove the iron. All right, so now that we have all the iron removed, we're halfway done. We've separated 2 of the 4 ingredients in this mixture, but we're left with the most difficult part. And this is sometimes the most difficult procedure for the students to come up with, is how would we go about separating this? We got sand and salt. Those are literally the only 2 things left in this beaker. So now I want you to ask yourself the same questions. Number 1, what are we going to be able to separate? Number 2, how are we going to be able to separate it? So let's once again pause the video, take a minute to discuss and think about how we could go about separating these. So, for those of you who were able to come up with the answer, I'm not sure what the first thing that came to mind was, but the first thing that comes to my mind is beaches, all right? We all go to beaches. They have salt and sand, and they're able to keep the 2 separated. What's the one thing that a beach has that we don't have in here? And for those of y'all that said water, you're absolutely correct. We're going to squirt water in here. And so the idea is that one of these substances is going to dissolve, meaning that it's soluble, which is a physical property. The other substance is insoluble, meaning that it will not dissolve. So we're going to be able to separate the sand and the salt, even though it's a little bit muddy right now. We're going to be able to separate that through the process of filtration. Because if the salt dissolves into the water, when I dump it through this filter, just like a coffee filter works, it's going to keep all the particles or the sand in the filter, allowing what to pass through here? Okay, obviously the water is going to pass through here, but since the salt is dissolved, the salt will also pass through the funnel. So now that we have our salty, sandy water ready to go, we have the filter system set up here, and I've got a beaker to catch the water and salt down here. We just slowly pour it, being careful to never go above the top of the funnel, because obviously we don't want to mess. And this one's going to take a little bit of time, but you can see it slowly dripping in here. And so the question becomes, what's going to be left in the filter paper, and what's going to be down here in this beaker? So what is the one substance that's going to get trapped by this filter paper? Obviously the sand, right? Then that leaves what down here? That's the rest of the water plus the salt. Like we said, because salt dissolves, it's going to be in here. So while this is dripping, we're going to pause the video again, and I want you to think about the same question. We got salt water here. Well, heck, how am I supposed to separate that? How do I get rid of the water, leaving behind the salt in the beaker? So let's again pause and discuss that, and we'll see you on. So for those of you who decided that we would take the salt water and evaporate it, you're absolutely correct. However, we wouldn't just put this on top of a Bunsen burner. We wouldn't want to heat things in a beaker necessarily unless it was on a hot plate. But if we're specifically trying to evaporate everything, our best bet is an evaporating dish. So I'm going to take our remaining water, pour it in the evaporating dish, and then we'll get the Bunsen burner set up right over here. And after it's done, we should be able to see the salt left behind with nothing else, no water, literally just the salt. So right now I have the lights turned off so you can see the flame a little bit better. The flame as it is right now would be pretty easy to see even with the lights on, but a common mistake that students make when using the test tubes is they let this yellowish orange flame be the flame that they use to heat substances, which is not what you want at all. Two reasons. The first, this flame is way too tall. It's about probably 5 to 6 inches in length. And for a Bunsen burner, we want that to be about 1 to 2 inches. Also the color. You see the blue at the bottom, but we want the entire flame to be blue. So there's some knobs here that you can twist. And I would normally have y'all practice on this, on the Bunsen burners before we did this. And after class, I would actually go around and I would mess with the knobs. Not to troll you guys, but just so you could get practice at getting the flame the correct way. So the shape we're looking for is a cone. So we're getting closer. We can mess with the other knob here a little bit. And now we're reaching a blue cone with about 1 to 2 inches in length, which is going to be perfect. So now that that is ready, we can place our salt water on top. And in time, this will evaporate. So we'll go ahead and pause again, and I'll show you the final product. All right, guys, so we are back at it. We are finally done. And I'm not gonna touch it with my hands because it's still really hot, but the water did finish evaporating. So I'm gonna put this at an angle to where you can see the salt left behind. You can see it around the edges. You can see it right there where the water was. There is now salt. So we have successfully separated 4 parts of matter. And so this knowledge is going to be crucial as we move into matter further. And this information that you learned here today will definitely help you on the quiz that you have coming up. And we look forward to seeing you on another one. Gig 'em.